Welcome to my workshop. You are watching Casual DIY channel. In one of my latest videos I created a clamp for an MFT style tabletop. Basically, if you've got some holes in your worktop, then you can utilize it. Check this out, it looks like this and it's a very interesting and simple design to make. However, today I want to create something a little bit more sophisticated, if you like to call it like that. First of all, we're going to need some dowels, okay? Now, I made this on my router table. If you want to find out how to make them yourself, I'm going to leave a link to my video down below in the description of this one. We're going to need some hardwoods. I've actually managed to find some offcuts lying about in my workshop. They are glue-ups, but they will be absolutely perfect for this type of project. We're going to need a threaded rod. In my case, that's 6mm. However, 8mm would be better. And also, in my case, I'm going to be using these hex drive head nuts. Very nice and simple hardware to use, and it's actually perfect for this project. So that's the list of key ingredients. Let's chop everything up to the right sizes. I'm going to be using my table saw with a sled to cut all the pieces to the right sizes. I'm going to be making two sets. Therefore, I'm cutting two pieces that are 3.5cm by 3.5cm by 4cm. Next, I'm going to be cutting out two pieces that are 3.5 by 3.5, this time 5cm long. However, if you do get material that's a little bit thicker, that's fine, just use that, few millimeters here or there, makes no difference. And we're also going to need two pieces that will become the handles, and in my case, they're going to be 8cm long. I'm also going to be cutting two smaller pieces. These will be for the stop blocks. In my case, I'm going to be making them 4cm wide, and as you can see, with a table saw and a sled, you can even cut out smaller pieces like this neatly and safely. Okay, with all that sorted, it's time to cut the dowels to the correct sizes. We're going to need 4 dowels, 2 for the clamps, 2 for the stop blocks, and they're all going to be 5cm long. Okay, now we need to establish a middle in these two blocks, as the dowels will go just in there. I'm going to pre-drill about 8mm deep for the dowels to be glued in inside. It will just give more strength to the whole thing. To deal with this task, I'm going to be using my press drill and a 20mm force-slip bit. Now, in the same blocks that we just made the recess, right in the middle we need to pre-drill a hole with an 8mm drill bit to accommodate for this hex drive head nuts. And with the same drill bit, which is 8mm, I'm pre-drilling the pieces that will become the handles. And I'm going to drill about 5cm deep. Now in the handles themselves, I'm just going to flip them upside down and I'm going to pre-drill the same size hole again, but only going 20mm deep. And you'll see why later on. Now it's time to sort out the jaws of our clamp. I'm pre-drilling a hole right in the middle with a drill bit that's 6mm in diameter, which is the exact same size as the threaded rod I'm going to be using. The depth stop on my drill is set up to 2cm. I have swapped the drill bit for 3mm. That's the hole that we just drilled, and we need another one that's just at the top. This will allow us to drive in a screw to stop the threaded rod from popping out. But I'm going to show you how all that works in just a moment. Now we can glue in the dowels to the middle part of our clamps. I'm going to leave that to set. Let's move on to the bandsaw. Here I'm going to cut off the excess from the jaws, and also I'm going to try to cut away some of the material from the handles so they will actually look like handles. The next stage of cutting out the handles, I've used a painter's tape to basically connect all three pieces. It's a lot easier to cut out the shape. With my sander, I'm going to refine the shape of the jaws and of the handles. Now it's time to work a little bit on the stop blocks that we'll have for the whole system. So I'm going to cut a bit from the top, so this piece of timber will slide into our dowel. And to do that, I'm going to be using my bandsaw. And now we can glue the dowel and the piece of timber together. We can now start installing the hardware. First of all, the hex drive head nuts, they need to go in the middle part of our clamp. With an angle grinder, I'm now just going to cut two pieces of the threaded rod. For me, they need to be 18 centimeters long. In the handles, we're also going to be using the same hex drive head nuts. However, this time I'm going to add a bit of 5-minute epoxy to make sure there's plenty of strength in this fixing and nothing's going to happen to it. So now I'm just going to mix a bit of epoxy. In the threaded rod, we need to create a flat spot all around it for the screw that will be located in the jaws of our clamp will actually stop the threaded rod from popping out from the jaw itself. It needs to look something like that. So what this will allow us to do, I can put the threaded rod inside, drive in the screw, and now we can rotate the handle freely. However, the threaded rod will not come out of the jaws. Now the screws themselves, as you can see, they're a little bit too long, so I can grind them down as well so they're nice and flush with the jaws. And now we can put the clamp together. Super simple. Just drive that through, get the threaded rod inside that hole, and just lock it in place with a screw from the top. It will rotate freely, no issues at all, and it's not gonna come out. And there you go, guys, that's our clamp. However, you're probably wondering why we've got that. Well, I'm gonna show you that in a second. Let's say, for example, I need to clamp down this piece of timber. I'm going to use our stop blocks that we made, butt against them our piece of timber, and now our clamps. And just use the handle to get the clamps to the right positions. And there you go. This is solid, absolutely not moving at all. Nice and simple solution. But however, if, for example, you need to add a bit more strength to this and you don't have enough strength in your fingers to actually tighten this down, well, that's why we've glued in with epoxy the hex drive head nut, as it will take an Allen key, okay? And now we can add additional pressure with an Allen key to our clamp. And tighten everything up. And there you go. I think it's a very good solution for an MFT style tabletop, or basically if you do have some holes in your worktop. Nice, easy, simple, but it works. However, a little bit more sophisticated than the clamps that I've done in my last video. And unfortunately with this design, well, they will never be ultra low profile. So more than likely they will be thicker than the material you're going to be working with. Unless you're working with slabs or anything like that, that is quite thick, then that won't be a problem. However, that's the only downfall of this design. As I said, they're not going to be ultra low profile, because then you wouldn't be able to use the handle itself. But as you've seen the solution with the hex drive head nut and then an Allen key, well, you can figure out something that may be a bit more low profile, and if you do have a need for a clamp like that, it could be a solution for you. However, for what they are, I think this came out really nice, quite solid as well, so I can't see any issues going forward with it. And yeah, it could be very helpful in a busy workshop environment. Now, I think I'm actually going to be doing a series with different types of clamps for your MFT style tabletops, or basically as long as you've got some holes in your worktops. As next video will be another solution, a different type of a clamp that hopefully, well, you will enjoy that build as well. If you're new to my channel, subscribe to it so you won't miss that future video as well. And I'm going to leave a link to the last video I've done on some clamps as well, so you can go ahead and check it out. And don't go just yet, I do have some really cool playlists over here for you, plenty of really cool projects, so hopefully check them out, and maybe you'll find your next video to watch. Thank you very much. Take care.